Hey, do you need a leak detector? Is your hot water tank going to leak? Well, if it does, it's nice to know if it's doing it. But what I got here is I picked up at a thrift store 2 leak detectors. Obviously, I'm not sponsored by anybody. For a total of $2. Dirt cheap. Apparently these ones Instapack water alarm are still available on eBay. So the first part of this video is just going to be a quick how do you use this. Second part, which starts at that time, is the guts of it. So if you just want to see how to use one of these, watch the first part. And if you're more interested in the electronics behind it, watch the second part that starts at whatever that time was I pointed at. So, how do these work? You've got a dead spider on the back of it. Okay. Other than the spider's optional, you don't have to have one. Basically, you open them up. There's a 9-volt battery, goes in here, and then when you come along and you mount this down so that if there's a leak, it goes off like this. Oh, if you've got headphones on, you might want to take them off. I'll give you 3, 2, 1. It's a bit loud. Now, that only helps if the batteries are good. And what this model here has is it's actually always on, in the sense that there's a little CPU in there, and what the CPU does is check the battery. And if the battery gets too low, then what it does is starts chirping. So if you've got your hot water tank in the closet and you hear a bird in there chirping away at you, it might be time to change the battery. So I'm just going to move over to my hot water tank and show how this would be set up. Yes, it's dark and gloomy in here. Here's my hot water tank. As you can see, it barely fits in there. I actually had to remove the trim to fit it in there. And installed, well, 2021. So all you do is, let me get out of the light, put it there, mount the other one so it's face down. This retaining box actually should be coming out a tiny bit further, by about an inch. That way, if it actually started leaking out of the brass there, then it's contained within this area, and even though you can't see it, there's a drain down there that's got a little screen over it to keep the critters from crawling into the place. And this up pipe here that goes to here is a pressure release. So if something happens and it spurts out water, it's going to land down in the tray, which sets off the sensor. So they're that easy to use. If your hot water tank is like, oh, mine was when I lived back east, it was in the basement. So if it leaked, it went onto concrete and then down into the drain. But I've seen a lot of houses now with hot water tanks on the second floor. And as in this place, which is ranch style, kind of ranch style, it's on the first floor. If it leaked, it would just actually drain down through the hole into the crawl space. But if you have a catastrophic leak, I'm not sure the drain hole actually would be big enough, because I had one burst over in a place called Port Alberni on Vancouver Island. Did it just as I was about to head out on a trip, and it was literally flowing out of the tank as fast as it could get into the tank. It was just retarded. The water was everywhere. Luckily there too, it just dropped down into the crawl space. So part 2 starts, and I'll show up a schematic of this, go over it. So here's the guts of the thing that makes that nice squealing sound. We've got a processor of some type, 8-pin, with its label removed, of course. We have a couple transistors, they're both NPNs. We have a voltage regulator that steps down the 9 volts to the 5 volts that this needs. 2 capacitors to help smooth this thing out. We have the resistors here, and then we have a transformer, a 3-wire transformer. And over here, of course, is the contacts, and inside the safe is the part that makes all that noise, which got annoying really quickly. So, here I've done up the schematic of it. You've got the 9 volts, capacitor number 1, the voltage regulator, which is a 6208A. Cute thing is, this whole thing, when it's not making noise, only draws 8.9 microamps. Not a lot of draw. Second capacitor to smooth out the other side. We have our mystery chip over here. Now originally I thought this section in here it's a low voltage detector for the battery, and I figured it was just a straight voltage divider, but it's not. When this thing is not making any noise, just running as it normally is, this pin over here is at 0 volts, which really didn't make any sense. So I tried the second meter. It's still at 0 volts. I've got my scope here, and I'll show you the waveform for it in a moment. Actually, I can do that now. That's it. So basically it pulses it on for a moment or two. Not even a moment. And must take a reading through the chip to determine if it's still good. These are pretty high value resistors, 2.6, 2 here. So open collector gate, or don't know. Not my specialty. I don't like processors. Okay, second part right in here is the water detector, mainly this guy. So we got a 5.6K resistor coming down to the contacts, and then down here before the base we got 100K down to ground. So obviously as soon as you get a water in here, you've got a high voltage here that turns this thing on. This then goes over to here, turning this on. Oh, no, pulling it low. It's sensed over here because normally it's sitting at 5 volts. As soon as you have water, it drops down. That triggers this thing to say, hey, you're flooding, buddy. So it then takes this number 2, outputs the next section, the buzzer. It outputs actually a pulse, and I'll try to show the waveform in a moment. This rapid goes high and low, turns this on, and then the 9 volts comes through, and it does that fancy stuff where it steps it up and basically oscillates. But let me just hook everything up for a second. So, I'm about to make some noise here, and you can see why I put it inside the safe. And let's just take a single. Let's turn off the annoying noise. Oops. And there we have it. So that's what it's outputting. This part in here is about 120 microseconds long. It's got a total period of about 250. I don't believe it stays totally constant there. So that's the noisy part.